a nation transformed Canada's immigration surge. Canada is undergoing a dramatic transformation. Immigration has reached unprecedented levels, reshaping the nation's fabric. The Canadian experiment in mass immigration presents both opportunities and challenges. The influx of newcomers has diversified cultural landscapes and injected new energy into the economy. The face of change. Population growth and its discontents. Canada's population is growing at an unprecedented rate, largely driven by mass immigration. While population growth can bring economic benefits, it also presents significant challenges, particularly in terms of infrastructure, housing, and social cohesion. The rapid influx of newcomers has put a strain on existing resources, leading to shortages in affordable housing, overcrowded schools, and increased wait times for healthcare. Moreover, the concentration of immigrants in major urban centers has led to increased competition for jobs, housing, and public services in these areas. This has fueled resentment among some segments of the existing population who feel that their quality of life is being negatively impacted by the influx of newcomers. The changing demographics of Canadian society have also raised concerns about social cohesion, as the traditional fabric of Canadian identity is challenged by the arrival of diverse cultures and values. Strained systems, healthcare, housing, and education under pressure. The Canadian healthcare system is showing signs of strain under the weight of mass immigration. Hospitals are overcrowded, wait times have increased, and there is a growing shortage of doctors and nurses. The housing market in cities like Toronto and Vancouver has been significantly impacted by mass immigration. Demand for housing has driven up prices and created a shortage of affordable options. Schools are struggling to cope with the influx of students from diverse backgrounds, straining resources and affecting education quality. The competition for opportunity, jobs and wages in the age of mass migration. Mass immigration impacts the labor market. Immigrants fill labor shortages and contribute to economic growth, but critics say it depresses wages and displaces native-born workers. The reality is complex and varies across sectors and skill levels. Mass immigration can create downward pressure on wages, especially for low-skilled workers. A large pool of willing workers can make it difficult to negotiate better pay and benefits. This is particularly true in industries like construction, manufacturing, and hospitality. Section 5, the crisis of homelessness and drug addiction. The rise in homelessness is a growing concern in many Canadian cities. Many individuals are struggling to find affordable housing and are forced to live on the streets. The lack of support services has exacerbated the problem, leading to a rise in drug addiction among the homeless population. The opioid crisis has hit hard, with many individuals turning to drugs as a means of coping with their situation. Addressing homelessness and drug addiction requires a comprehensive approach, including affordable housing, mental health services, and addiction treatment programs. Section 8. The voices of dissent, concerns and criticisms surrounding mass immigration. While the Canadian government remains committed to its policy of mass immigration, a growing chorus of voices is expressing concern about the pace and scale of this demographic shift. Critics argue that the current levels of immigration are unsustainable and are having a negative impact on various aspects of Canadian society. One of the main criticisms is that mass immigration is putting a strain on Canada's social safety net, including healthcare, education, and social services. Critics argue that the influx of newcomers is leading to longer wait times for medical procedures, overcrowded classrooms, and increased competition for affordable housing. Another concern is the impact of mass immigration on the labor market. While some argue that immigrants fill labor shortages and contribute to economic growth, others contend that the influx of cheap labor depresses wages and displaces Canadian-born workers, particularly in low-skilled sectors. Section 9, the balancing act, weighing the benefits and drawbacks of open borders. The debate over mass immigration is often framed as a binary choice between open borders and closed borders. However, the reality is far more nuanced. There are legitimate arguments to be made on both sides of the issue, and finding the right balance between welcoming newcomers and protecting the interests of existing citizens is a complex challenge. On the one hand, immigration can bring significant economic and cultural benefits to Canada. Immigrants contribute to the economy by filling labor shortages, starting businesses, and paying taxes. They also enrich Canadian society by bringing new ideas, perspectives, and traditions. On the other hand, mass immigration can also pose challenges to social cohesion, national identity, and the sustainability of social programs. It is essential to acknowledge and address these challenges while also recognizing the contributions of immigrants to Canadian society. Section 10. The path forward towards a sustainable and responsible immigration model. As Canada navigates the complexities of mass immigration, it is essential to develop a more sustainable and responsible approach to immigration policy. This requires a nuanced understanding of the economic, social, and cultural impacts of immigration, as well as a commitment to addressing the concerns of both newcomers and existing citizens. One key aspect of a sustainable immigration model is ensuring that the number of newcomers is aligned with Canada's capacity to absorb them. This means taking into account factors such as housing availability, healthcare capacity, and labor market needs. Another important consideration is the integration of newcomers into Canadian society. This involves providing adequate support for language acquisition, cultural orientation, and employment assistance. Section 11, Conclusion, a crossroads for Canada. Canada stands at a crossroads. The nation's traditional embrace of immigration is being tested by the realities of mass migration. The influx of newcomers has brought undeniable benefits, but it has also presented significant challenges. The path forward requires a nuanced and honest conversation about the limits of Canada's capacity to absorb newcomers while preserving its national character. To ignore the anxieties of its citizens is to invite social unrest and political instability. To turn its back on those seeking a better life would be a betrayal of Canada's humanitarian values. Finding the right balance between these competing imperatives is the defining challenge of Canada's future. It demands thoughtful reflection, honest debate, and a commitment to finding solutions that benefit all Canadians, both new and old. The Canadian experiment in mass immigration hangs in the balance.